Hello friends, welcome back to Strategic Management, and let's progress ahead in terms of what we have been talking about: driving strategy, leading strategy, and managing strategy. Strategically managing things and management of strategy. And adding on to the discussion of leadership, which is one of the most important things, as I suggested, that we should learn from our discussions of strategy and strategic management, which is largely, at the end of the day, you would realize it is largely all about leadership, more or less. And that is why most prominent courses around the world, they are about leadership basically, wherein people go and try to learn and imitate how can they become effective leaders. There is a lot of debate on that are leaders born or are leaders made, and I would not go into that basically, but definitely it happens. And fortunately for us, importantly for us, Bapu is referred to almost everywhere. Now let's go and try and understand, how a strategic vision is developed and communicated. First portion I would be focusing upon is developing a strategic vision. But before I go on, putting forth my submission in front of you in terms of development of a strategic vision in terms of organizations and businesses, let me very briefly talk about vision and envisioning things. You see, strategic vision, when we say, it is directed towards a particular frame of thought in association with an organization or an economy or a country. But vision is related to our fundamental thoughts, beliefs, cultural values, which are fundamental in nature, though they have an association of the environment we have been groomed in, the purpose we believe in, and you see, at some part of our lives, it is good if it is as early as possible that we get to believe in a particular kind of a purpose. We realize that this is the purpose of our lives basically. So you see, around those kind of elements we envision things, we visualize. Vision is looking beyond times, feeling that this is how things should be, this is how the world should be, this is how the world should live, this is how my world should live, this is how you see, my country should play a role in the economy of this world, in this globalized world. This is how my society should be, this is how my people should prosper, this is how prosperity and opulence should come to people. Deciphering prosperity and opulence around me, around the environment where I live basically, is largely about vision and visualizing things. What kind of prosperity I envision about myself. Someone once told me that if you envision, let's say, the future of your own child, and in my case, when I am in academics, my students whose future I try to envision with a context of prosperity and opulence. And that is what someone was trying to tell me, that if you are an academician, you have to look forward to the future of so many people if you are actually feeling related to them. But nevertheless, everyone can feel about the prosperity and the opulence of the future of their own children. So when you are actually looking into the prosperity of your own children and opulence of their future, you realize their happy, healthy, prosperous life and the lives after them, lives beyond them. And that is how you envision. So in one case, when you visualize that, and when you expand that, okay, my children are associated with this society, so this society should be like that. If I want prosperity and opulence for my children, that means their society should be prosperous and opulent, and then the country, and then this world. So that is how things keep on expanding, and that is all about envisioning basically at large. How you collate things from everywhere, how you fundamentally believe in that this kind of prosperity should percolate amongst everyone, how it would percolate, what would be the reasons for the percolation of this prosperity and opulence amongst all. That is what leaders do, that is how they envision the world, that is how they envision their own countries, the societies. That is how Bapu envisioned India, that after such and such time, India would be a global economic and societal power, and India would nurture its own values. And today we are trying to do that. Our education policy, our economic policy, our foreign relations, our Indian knowledge systems which we are nurturing at this moment. We have opened up centers for Indian knowledge systems, excellence in Indian knowledge systems, or excellence driven through Indian knowledge systems. That is how what the centers mean to do. So every institution is opening up such kind of systems, and thanks to our government, which has motivated that we should be doing that, and we have started believing in those Indian knowledge systems and nurturing those for rejuvenating that prosperity which we once had. Bapu envisioned that. Many countries, the leaders envisioned the prosperity for their people, happy, healthy, prosperous life. Many countries even actually adapted happiness indexes, that their people should be called developed if they are happy. So happiness index has been formally adopted by few countries, and especially in specifically Bhutan, for example. So you see, and that is how organizations think of, that is what Tatas would have thought of, that is what Jamshedji would have thought of long back, that is what several organizations would have thought of, and so on. So that is where larger visionary perspective comes in, and that vision actually takes us towards organizational vision. So I just prefaced about how organizational vision gets a chord from the larger envisioning of the leaders in times to come. So Jack Welch, former CEO of General Electric, said that good business leaders create a vision, articulate that vision, passionately own the vision, and relentlessly drive it to completion. That is what we are talking of, organizational vision basically. Vision is a picture of, and I am taking this chord from Hit, Ireland and Hoskisson, Strategic Management, Competitiveness and Globalization Concepts and Cases by Southwestern. So vision is a picture of what the firm wants to be, and that definitely has a chord from the vision which I just demonstrated or described in front of you. So vision is a picture of what the firm wants to be, and in broad terms what it wants to ultimately achieve. That vision must have a chord from how you envision prosperity and opulence around you basically. That is how your firm would, that is how your firm would become, or your company would become prosperous and opulent. You can't be prosperous and opulent if the stakeholders would not be prosperous and opulent, and the society would not be prosperous and opulent. If you want to sell your products at a larger level basically, and you want your products to be adopted by one and all basically, that means you want the prosperity of the society. That is how they would keep on purchasing your products at the end of the day. It's a simple chord basically. So for your opulence and prosperity, for envisioning a vision about your organization, you have to envision the prosperity of the world. So thus the authors add that thus a vision statement articulates the ideal description, and it is very important for us to realize that they are talking about an ideal description of an organization and gives shape to its intended future, how you want it to be. In other words, a vision statement points the firm in the direction of where it would eventually like to be in years to come, looking beyond times. This is how my organization would be. This is how Tata Steels would be contributing in the development of the economy of this country and prospering by itself also, and contributing in other Tata companies. That is what Jamshedji would have thought of. Vision is big picture, thinking with passion that helps people, thinking with passion, and this is an important thing, big picture. Thinking with passion that helps people feel what they are supposed to be doing in the organization, what they should be doing. You see, you are actually imagining millions of the employees of an organization playing their particular kind of a part through which the prosperity is being gained actually. And when we talk about billions of dollars of corporations, having revenues in terms of billions of dollars, having market capitalization in billions basically, and they are doing good to the society especially. And here I should generate a chord of differentiation that every organizational vision cannot be termed as visionary in nature. Why? Why? And that is why I generated a chord from a larger vision in terms of societal prosperity and opulence in relation to the organizational vision and opulence basically. You see, if you will look at the core of the business, every business has an objective of profitability. But that does not mean that every business is contributing in terms of the prosperity of society and societal benefits largely. So, here comes a difference. Vision has a fundamental characteristic of propelling itself and gaining the confidence and commitment of people around itself, if the leadership is focused on that and leadership is bent on, committed on that basically. That means vision is actually related to the good cause. I would not demean the organizations which are not so into developing happiness and prosperity for the society, and who are not working in terms of their products for developing strength and happiness to this society, health for this society. I would not go into that kind of a discussion as of now, but you know very well what I am talking of, the kind of products which are not good for us basically, although those products are to be legitimately sold. So they can be sold, that business can be done, in business terms they are successful, they are doing good, but it would not run by itself. So vision has a self-propelling strength, it keeps on going basically, because everyone knows what is good for them in longer term, and that is why people get associated with organizations and products and causes which have long term beneficial results. So just keep this in mind and try to differentiate organizations with self propelling good vision beneficial to the society as compared to other vision statements you might end up reading somewhere. So do not get confused on that, those are also vision statements, but not in true sense. And here we are talking of vision statements which are related to prosperity of all, because at the end of the day we are responsible to our stakeholders and their prosperity that we would realize at the end of the day. Vision statements reflect a firm's values, and that is precisely I am referring to, and aspirations, and are intended to capture the heart and mind of each employee. You capture heart and mind of each employee if you have a larger purpose, otherwise people will not believe you, people would work with you on transactional basis for their gains, for doing their jobs, for earning a living, but they wouldn't get mentally and deeply associated with you with a purpose. Mr. Natarajan Chandrasekharan got associated with Tatas as his first job and presently the chairman of Tata Sons basically. Why he stayed with Tatas? Because he believed in the purpose of Tata organizations, and he actually is nurturing that at this moment. I am not saying that in different kinds of organizations many people do not stay for longer time, they do, that can be debated, but the point is, do they believe in that? Do they actually live with that? Don't they have this transactional perspective always on their minds? It can be found out, it can be discussed. Let us not go into that, but this comparison has to be brought in, because many times students and people they discuss with me and they discuss amongst each other that that organization also has a vision and this organization also has a vision, but because we do not have a term which defines that kind of a vision or this kind of a vision. So that is where a larger chord has to be generated from envisioning the prosperity and opulence of this world with the perspective of leadership, to be deciphered in terms of organizational vision, where an organization and its products and its activities become good and beneficial for the stakeholders and society at large. And that is what the statement implies, that vision statements reflect a firm's values and aspirations and are intended to capture the heart and mind of each employee and hopefully many of its other stakeholders. A firm's vision tends to be enduring, and now you see, endurance is what I am referring to. Enduring, while its mission can change in light of changing environmental conditions. So we can, we can adjust with the changing environment, but the vision has to be, it tends to be enduring basically. For example, you are in healthcare business, it is your business, but the point is that you are there to serve the patients, to give them the finest medical care and make it approachable to them. You see, that is precisely what we should be thinking of, although it does make business sense to focus on profits and profitability, but the point is that to what extent, that has to be decided by us. And patients would realize, in an ideal condition, patients would go to people who would actually focus on their benefits with approachability, with a particular kind of a benefit which organization eligibly should have. Because if we just focus on profits, might be you won't be able to serve all the patients, you might not be able to serve people who would not be able to afford you, although it makes business sense, as I said. But the point is that should we be doing that in that kind of a particular kind of a business? Should we? And that is where this particular kind of discussion becomes relevant for us. Every business requires an association with the society, prosperity and opulence at the end of the day. And let us talk about developing a strategic vision. So, a strategic vision delineates management's aspirations for the company's future. And we have talked about leadership and management's management's aspiration in terms of how this organization and world should be, providing a panoramic view of where we are going, all encompassing view. So that is how you must have taken panoramic photographs. So you just look at that and you would realize what I am speaking of. So that is where panoramic view comes in, and a convincing rationale for why this makes good business sense. And that is precisely when I say that what kind of a profitability should I be earning out of this kind of a business basically. That is what we have to take a call on. So convincing rationale. Every author intelligently demonstrate these kind of things basically. Try and read and you would realize that ultimately all of us wish for this world to be a wonderful place, and that is the relevance of this subject actually. Because just a little digression, because I have realized in my career in due course of time when I've been talking about strategy and strategic management, many people just take up strategy with the perspective of just winning and winning, that's all. But strategy is not just about that. Strategy is much beyond that. Strategy is winning along with everyone. Strategy is always there in terms of long term basically, and it is not philosophical. It can be associated with the philosophical orientation, definitely. It is not just philosophical, it is practical. You want your processes to propel by themselves even if you are not there. How would you do that? If you develop a culture, if you develop a flow, when people would keep on getting associated with you for a longer time, because they know that you have done good, you would do good, because it is for the good of everyone actually. That is how people would keep on coming along. That is how employees would keep on coming along. For example, there are several organizations wherein we seek employment because we want to get associated with that organization. We know that that organization is actually would do good to all. That is where one of the organizations I am standing with. Here I am fortunate to be here at Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Roorkee, wherein we admire that somehow, fortunately, for example me, I reached here because other organizations might have given me a different kind of an option in terms of packages and salaries and whatsoever, but here I wanted to get associated myself, and that is the strength of this organization, because this organization is keeping up the level of the larger vision which it envisioned in due course of time. A strategic vision thus points an organization in a particular direction, that is what I am referring to, charts a strategic path, and you see, if there is path and the clarity associated with the path, people would keep on joining, focus upon through their cultural submission, cultural values submission, along with submerge into the culture of that particular organization, and the organization would keep on propelling itself. So charts a strategic path for it to follow, builds commitment to the future course. Because if you are not committed to future course, if you are not taking it as your life, that organization might not grow. You have to believe in every single step you are taking every day. You have to keep strong discipline. You have to wake up early in the morning and you have to tell yourself that this is another new day and I have to teach the same subject with larger intensity, stronger intensity, with a newer, innovative way, and whatever best I can do. So, builds commitment to the future course of action and molds organizational identity. Well conceived visions are distinctive and specific to a particular organization. Your vision makes you unique. It actually differentiates. We will be talking about organizational differentiation and differentiation as a strategic step also in due course of time in our course. But while talking about that, I would probably be mentioning about this thing, but till then, just try and remember that the vision of an organization itself is a differentiating point. It's a key element which organization nurtures and differentiates itself with, and that gets reflected into the products and services and everything basically. You take any example, you take a shoe company, for example Nike. They had a particular kind of a vision which differentiates them through their products. You take example of Amul, you take example of 3M, many of their products, they differentiate themselves because they are in association with that. Their employees, representation of the employees, association of the employees with that kind of a particular organization, and how those employees they communicate with the customers, with the conviction, with the intensity, that is the differentiation point, but that has a connecting cord with the vision of that organization actually. So, wording of vision statements, the do's and don'ts, and this we have taken from Kellett, Thompson, Strickland and Gamble J. Crafting and Executing Strategy, The Quest for Competitive Advantage, published by McGraw-Hill Education. So, first is be graphic, structure that, imagine a picture around it, paint a picture of where the company is headed. You may do it physically as well sometimes, you draw the dots basically that this is how I would go, this is how the charts, the structure is being formulated. Many times you write it about yourself, for example, this is what I would be doing in next 5 years, this is what I would be doing next 10 years and so on, considering that life goes along as you presume it would go along. So, paint a picture of where the company is headed and the market positions the company is striving to stake out. How should one be knowing about McDonald's? How should one remember Dunkin' Donuts? How should one remember Haldiram's? How should one remember Bikaner? How should one remember any textile company for that matters, Raymond's? How should one remember a food company? How should one remember a soft beverage company? How should one remember Amul? Several examples. How should one remember a tire company? How should one remember an automotive company? And so on. Should we be remembering all the automotive companies with what kind of contribution they have made in terms of personal choices of people, or should we be remembering them with the perspective of that they kept on graduating in terms of becoming environment friendly in due course of time and simplified the way people would commute from one place to the other. So, that is how things are. So, be graphic, paint a picture of where the company is headed and market positions the company is striving to take out. Be forward looking and directional. Describe the strategic course that will help the company prepare for the future. These are the kinds of employees or partners whom I should be bringing on board and retaining them. I should be retaining them. This is the kind of technology I should be infusing in terms of my production, in terms of my communication with the customers, and so on. This is how what I would be doing. This is how people would say that Indian Railways has come a long way in adapting to the environmental and technological changes and serving their customers in the best possible way. The stations are now more cleaner and getting cleaner day by day. Their service orientation is becoming well, and you see CTC website is functioning excellently. Basically, it's a lot of ease customers have gone through now in past few decades, few years, wherein you can book your tickets at your pleasure basically, and then you have lot of options, you have lot of directions, you have lot of alternatives, and you see we have come a long way in our, as far as Indian Railways progression goes in terms of whatever they have been doing, serving customers, their technology, their trains, stations. It's a huge infrastructure which they are maintaining. So that is where be forward looking and directional. Make it memorable. A well stated vision is short, easily communicated and memorable, so that people should remember and live with that. Ideally, it should be reducible to a few choice lines or one phrase slogan. This is just a guidance on how you envision, because many of you would love to go for your own startup someday. Many of you would be thinking in terms of what, as I am speaking to you, you would be thinking in terms of what kind of a vision should I be having in terms of my upcoming organization, or how should I resonate with, associate myself with the vision of my company, if it is actually comprehensible, it is communicated in a memorable way, then I would remember the vision of my organization and I would keep nurturing that vision in my mind and progressing through that and taking it up further as an adaptation to my life basically. So that is how vision statements are conceived. Then comes in don'ts. Don't dwell on the present. A vision is not about what a company once did or does now. It is actually related to that. Someone thought about a vision of that, this is how my organization is or is to be. But again the point is, now you have to go ahead, and we are talking of business vision here. So on the larger vision, my organizational vision, and this is how the progression is. So I have to take it up with the perspective of where we are going, and that is the guiding force which we are getting from behind. So it's not about that you nullify that, you nurture that. That is what this particular point means, and that is what authors imply. So don't state the vision in uninspiring terms. You should be using motivating words. You should be using words which may associate people with you. The best vision statements have the power to motivate company personnel and inspire shareholder confidence about the company's future. Look into the vision of Hero as a company. Look into the vision of Tata's. Look into the vision of IIT. I would be coming to those kind of things in my subsequent session. Don't be vague or incomplete. Never skimp on specifics about where the company is headed. So don't, you see, it should be directional in nature, it should be inspiring, and it should be futuristic. It should be associating you with the company, with the organization. And I would end up this discussion here at this chart and this figure taken from I. Wilson, Realizing the Power of Strategic Vision, Long Range Planning. So this I would carry forward in my discussion in my subsequent session, and I would carry forward the discussion from this slide itself later on. So here comes what we are talking of in a structured manner, more or less. So developing a strategic vision is related to resource analysis, competition versus capabilities, in association with management values, in association with environmental values, related to strength and weaknesses, what can be in terms of strategic options, strategic selection, and associated with mission statement, objectives and goals. And that is how strategic vision is developed, derived. And there are again the loop goes back to the authors say sanity checks, wherein is it relevant or not. I will be coming back to you from the same point of discussion and deciphering the vision of several organizations and elaborating upon how organizations conceive their vision and are living with that. I will be catching up with you very soon. Till then, goodbye.